That was very impressive, and I thank the Daily Star for doing that. Unfortunately, you have me again this year. Les Drummond is still not doing well enough, and please take a minute later today to give him your thoughts and prayers as he's rehabilitating, and he needs some grace. So as we begin, our American Legion, Post 259 from Oneonta, Commander, we post the colors. Anthem. If you're not standing, please do so. Please continue standing, and with me, we will pledge the American Legion. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would Reverend Randy Collado please come forward to give us our invocation?
Will you please join me in this prayer of invocation? Let's bow our heads as we pray. Eternal God, on this day of remembrance, we gather to give you thanks for the lives of people whose passing reveals to us the value of this life you have granted. As we recall their lives, teach us to so number our days, that we may use wisely the treasure of time given to us. Let us remember those who willingly gave their lives for the sake of others, firefighters who braved the terrors of flame, peace officers slain in the line of duty, soldiers and sailors and flyers who sacrificed their futures for our freedom, ordinary citizens who instinctively reacted with heroism in a crisis, martyrs who valued truth and justice above life itself. Grant us a measure of their passionate dedication to light, that we may face our own challenges with courage and resolve. Let us pause in sober remembrance of those who died too soon, with so much living yet undone, the victims of disease, the casualties of careless accidents, the victims of crime, those who by their own hand ended a life they could no longer bear. Lord, teach us to number our days, that we may fully appreciate the time we have. O God, you yourself have taught us that no love is greater than that which gives itself for another. This honored death gave the most precious gift we have, life itself, for loved ones and neighbors, for comrades and country, and for us. Help us to honor their memory by caring for the family members they have left behind, by ensuring that their wounded comrades are properly cared for, by being watchful caretakers of the freedoms for which they gave their lives. and by demanding that no other young men and women follow them to a soldier's grave unless the reason is worthy and the cause is just. Lord, though their names may fade with the passing of generations, may we never, never forget what they have done. Help us to be worthy of their sacrifice. Grant us grace to entrust our loved ones to young and dying love until the day when all hearts are mended, all families united, all lives restored. In the name of our loving God, amen.
I would now like to ask Mayor Mark Grant to please come up. Today, as we honor the life and mourn the loss of Oneonta's own Chief Warrant Officer, Thomas Aramo, we train our focus on the purpose of the day, a rightful expectation that we recall the lives and times of those taken from us too soon, that we open our hearts and minds to the sacrifice of generations of brothers, sisters, daughters, sons, husbands, wives, children, family, loved ones, heroes all who loved and honored our country and were prepared to fight for its ideals. Some did and died in its defense. Memorial Day. Today, our annual one-day remembrance of that sacrifice. But the smile, the warmth, the story of a beloved but fallen soldier is a memory to be shared every day. It can be a comfort or an ache, but it's ours to bear, and it's our duty to preserve their memory. It's the additional life that we give to those who died earlier than God might have granted. I visited the American Legion's museum the other day. The love and respect for our military families and their lost heroes, their sons and daughters for whom this day has been created, that love is evident in every display. And to all who visit. And as I toured the museum, I noted the names, the family names. Some I recognized. Many of you would too, because Oneonta is and has always been a small city, a community, a family. And as we embrace the Aramo family, hold them to our hearts and provide them comfort, our family grows. Let us celebrate the great connection we share, the grief and the joy, the spirit, the love of those we've lost, and the warmth of their memory. Let us pledge to remember today, on this glorious Memorial Day, and tomorrow, and every day that we draw breath in this land of the free. God bless their memory, and God bless all of you. I would now like to ask immediately past Mayor Barry Herzig to come forward.
morning. And first, to the family of Christopher Ramo, let me express my deep, heartfelt sadness, as well as my gratitude and my pride. Christopher knew the risks, but that didn't stop him from going on a path of protecting us. And I learned today in talking to some of the family members that Christopher also fought in Afghanistan, fought in Iraq, and we owe him our deepest appreciation and gratitude, and of course the sadness and loss that comes with it. Well, this year Memorial Day is not just an annual commemoration. It's a time that we can feel real loss and real pain. In addition to the loss of Christopher, we lost two of our heroes in the fought in World War II this year. Heroes that were fortunate enough that fate allowed them to come back home. Tony Drago fought the Battle of the Bulge, served time as a prisoner of war. Bill Davis, radio communications officer, flying B-17s and B-19s over the Pacific. These men who were lucky enough to come back home did so and served as pillars of our community. When you think how much less would we be if they had not come back home, and how much more could we have been if some of the others had been able to come back home. You know, Memorial Day always hits home for me. My grandmother, along with her older sister, came to this country and left her whole extended family behind in Yugoslavia. The hope was that someday the extended family would follow her to America. And my grandmother would keep a box full of letters, pictures, cards that she would get from the family, updating them on what was happening. But on March 11th, 1943, the letters and photographs stopped coming, because that was the day that all of the Sephardic Jewish members of the town of Bitola, Yugoslavia, were rounded up, put in cattle cars, and transported to the Treblinka concentration camp. None survived. And I think of our soldiers who fought, who sacrificed their lives. How many more of us would have gone to that fate and suffered that way if it wasn't for the sacrifice of our American soldiers? Now, we should also remember that those who fought and gave their lives did so to protect our American way of life. And those values include tolerance, respect, and dignity. And perhaps most importantly, coming together at times of trouble. I think we've all experienced that lately some of those principles seem to be challenged in this country. And I think what we all can do at the very least is feel a sense of responsibility to do whatever it is we can to safeguard those values, because those are the values that our men and women fought and died for. Thank you.
Now I will call up Reverend Sam Judd.
Good
Greetings to you all. As Mr. Carson said, my name is Sam Judd. I am the associate pastor at Spirit and Truth Christian Assembly in West Oneonta. Thank you all today for joining together to bring honor to those who much honor is due. Sadly, this Memorial Day hits closer to home than many have in times past. On Thursday, April 27th of this year, we lost 3 American soldiers in the line of duty. One of those soldiers was Chief Warrant Officer 3, Christopher Aramo, 39 years old. Christopher has a direct connection with Oneonta. Chris attended high school here, and it was here in Oneonta that he enlisted in the Army. I want to take a couple minutes to speak about this man. Christopher Aramo was 6 years ahead of me in school, so our paths didn't cross. Yet, from the testimonies of many people who knew him, I've learned enough about this man to see that Oneonta is so fortunate to be able to say that a man so courageous once called this place home. Oneonta is so fortunate to be able to say that a man who was such a great example of what it means to be a servant, what it means to be a husband, what it means to be an adventurer, what it means to live with a whole heart, that a man like this once called Oneonta home. Christopher was an Apache pilot who was incredible at what he did. As an officer, he thrived at instructing, teaching, and training. He was a fantastic role model to both pilots and the soldiers. And he went through great lengths to protect those around him and to support each soldier and pilot that he worked with. Yet, it seemed that one of Christopher's greatest attributes was his extraordinary love for his wife, Jenny Lee. They began dating right here in Oneonta High School in 1999, when Christopher was 16 years old. It is said that they were inseparable, that they were so dedicated to each other, so devoted. They got married in their early 20s. In 2005, Christopher joined the military, and he probably would have never believed the adventures this line of duty would open the doors for in their lives. His career brought them to many destinations. Early on, the Army brought Christopher to Alaska. Here they fell in love with the outdoors, from fishing to hiking, biking, camping, and kayaking. Christopher and his wife were full-blown outdoor enthusiasts. Christopher's aviation career began in Alabama. Jenny Lee said that Christopher loved his helicopters. Being in the cockpit is where Christopher belonged, she said. Life took a beautiful turn when the Army stationed him in Hawaii. It was here that Christopher got his private license to fly. Jenny Lee said that his talent allowed us to island hop and see all the beauty that the Hawaiian Islands had to offer. Their relationship was magical. Flying in a personal plane from one island to another is just a glimpse into the magical love that they share. Chris was truly a remarkable husband. One person said it like this about Chris: "You're the man and husband that we all strive to be." Chris impacted so many people, but as good as he was to everyone else, Jenny Lee said, he was tenfold of that as my husband. Some men marry a woman and think that choosing that woman once is enough, but it's not. Chris chose his wife every day, a dream that only comes true to a small amount of women. Someone said that his relationship with his wife is what can only be defined as fairy tale love, and that is no exaggeration. Friends, Chris was an amazing aviator. He excelled in his field. He served in 2 combat deployments, and overall, he served 18 honorable years for this country. He was a warrior, and he was a defender of this country that we call home. But Chris wasn't just these things. He was a leader. He was an inspiration to those around him. A friend of his said that he pushed each and every person around him to be better, not by force, but just by being. What a legacy. What a legacy to be an inspiration to others, to be a better version of themselves. And what a legacy that he was the husband that we are all called to be. Devoted, loyal, inseparable. Friends, whether you know it or not, you are all leaders of some kind. You have the power to influence those around you. What will you do with that power? Will you, like Chief Christopher Aramo, use that power to make this world a better place? Will you inspire others to live with their whole heart? Will you inspire others to be brave? Will you inspire others to live for something bigger than themselves? Chris was a shining example of a real man. Chris was a shining example of a man who lived with a vision. Oneonta, it's been said that a man must have a cause to which he is devoted even unto death, for this is written into the fabric of his being. Chris, who was devoted unto death. Chris died, committed to a purpose greater than himself. Someone once said that all men die. Few men ever really lived. Well, Christopher Aramo was one of those few men. Chris really lived. Today, the example of Christopher Aramo directs the question towards you. Oneonta, will you make a decision today to go beyond your comfort zone and find a cause worth living and dying for? Young people, will you make a decision today to go beyond the realm of serving yourself and find a cause worth living and dying for? The example of countless numbers of men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice while serving our country direct the same question towards you. Many of us will never join the military, but we can all enlist in serving the people around us for the greater good. Today we honor all those who gave everything to serve the greater good of this country and this world. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Christopher Aramo, thank you for giving your strength to a world that desperately needed it.
And now I'd like to call up American Legion 259 Commander Terry Harkinger.
Good morning and welcome to this solemn occasion as we gather here, going on this Memorial Day. Today we come together as a community to honor and remember the brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation's freedom. We stand here to pay tribute to our fallen heroes, to express our gratitude, and to reflect on the profound significance of this day. Memorial Day is not just a day about off we work and the unofficial start of summer. It is a day of remembrance, a day to commemorate the selfless acts of courage and valor displayed by our servicemen and women throughout our history. It's a day to honor lives cut short, the dreams left unfulfilled, and families forever changed by the loss of loved ones. They remember the sacrifices made in the fields of Gettysburg, the trenches of World War I, the beaches of Normandy, the jungles of Vietnam, the deserts of Iraq, and the mountains of Afghanistan. We remember those who fought and died, not for the first 1.1 million men and women answer the call to serve and protect the freedoms that we know and now have today. As it is often said that freedom is now free, and today we stand in the presence of that truth. The price of liberty has been in the blood of our patriots. Our fallen heroes were ordinary individuals who did extraordinary things. They left behind families, friends, loved ones who will carry the weight of their absence. On this day, let us remember not just the fallen, but those who have returned from the battlefield forever changed in the horror of war. Let us not forget the wounded warriors who bear the physical and emotional scars of their service. We must ensure that they receive the care and support and the respect that they deserve. We have a responsibility not just to remember the fallen, but to carry their memories forward. It is our duty to preserve a legacy of their sacrifice, to ensure their stories are told and their names are not forgotten. We must teach future generations about the price of freedom and the importance of standing up for what is right. Our soldiers not only fought for the United States, but for the values and principles that we hold dear. It is up to us to uphold these values and look toward the future where their sacrifice was not in vain. Let us honor their memory by living our lives with gratitude and integrity. Recently, the Oneonta community lost an active duty service member, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Christopher Robert Arano, died in a helicopter crash in Alaska on a training mission. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends and fellow service members. The last couple of years have been hard on Post 259, American Legion family. We lost Coach Tony Drago, Dave Brenner, John Foreman, Pat Delaney, Bradley Osborne, Dave Escher, Jerry Hill, Mel Farmer, Mike Kessel, Dave Platt, Dave Hassick, and I hope I didn't miss anybody else. And our thoughts and prayers go out to their families and friends also. Thank you and God bless our fallen heroes, their families, and the United States of America. One last thing I forgot to do it. I do it every year. I got to thank the Scoutmasters, the parents, and the Boy Scouts for helping us put out the flags. We put out over 3,600 flags in the graves, cemeteries of Oneonta and town of Oneonta to make sure that as far as we know, every veteran has a flag flying in honor on his grave. So thank you, Boy Scouts and parents and community.
And honestly, we couldn't do it without the Boy Scouts. They not only do 5 times more placement of flags than the veterans do, but they also eat 5 times as many pancakes as we do. We'll now have Oneonta High School co-valedictorian Jordan Forbes come up and recite Lincoln's Gettysburg. So I guess we're going to do both Tiffany Gardner and Jordan Forbes. Jordan will be reading the Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Tiffany will have General Logan's orders.
407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little know nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no formal ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind and fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foes? Their soldier lives were the brevet of freedom to a race in chains, and their deaths a tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that the consecrated wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no vandalism of avarice or neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow and other hands slack, and other hearts hold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as long as the light and warmth of life remain in us. Let us then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us, in this solemn presence, renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us as sacred charges upon the nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widowed and orphaned. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Department commanders will use every effort to make this order effective.
I'd like to say that I'm impressed with both Jordan and Tiffany, not only in the reading, but also the fact that you're co-valedictorians. I must have been a tight competition. I'd now like to call up Deb Davis, who is a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and residing in Flanders Field.
Good morning. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. By John McCrae.
We'll now have the presentation of the service wreaths by Boy Scout Troop 23 and Girl Scout Troop 6670. First up, United States Army. United States Marine Corps. United States Navy. United States Air Force. United States Coast Guard. United States Merchant Marines. Thank you. Unfortunately, Senator Peter Overacker was unable to make today's ceremony. I've been asked to read the proclamation that was created by Senator Overacker and his staff. By Senator Overacker, by Assemblyman Miller. Good morning, the death of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo. Whereas it is custom of the legislative body to pay tribute to the citizens of the state of New York, whose life, work, and civic endeavor serves to enhance the quality of life in their communities in the great state of New York. And whereas Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo of Oneonta, New York, died Thursday, April 27, 2023, at the age of 39. And whereas born on May 23, 1983, Christopher Robert Aramo distinguished himself in his profession and by his sincere dedication and substantial contribution to the welfare of his community. And whereas Christopher Robert Aramo served his country honorably for over 18 years, including tours of duty in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. And whereas the recipient of numerous awards and accolades, Christopher Robert Aramo received 9 Army Accommodation Medals, 6 Army Achievement Medals, the Valorous Unit Award, Meritorious Unit Citation, National Defense Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Army Service Medal. And whereas, loving all things outdoors, Christopher Robert Aramo's hobbies included camping, fishing, hiking, dirt biking, flying his private planes, going on for rides on his motorcycle, and even scuba diving. And whereas Christopher Robert Aramo is survived by his loving wife, Jenny Lee, mother, Carolyn, sister, Shannon Marie, brother, Dylan, grandmother, Anja, nephews, Michael and Nicholas, niece, Adeline, as well as beloved uncles, aunts, cousins, extended family, and many dear friends. He was preceded in death by his father, Carrie, Uncle Isaac, Essa, grandfather, Marty, grandfather, James, grandmother, Dorothy, and Uncle William. Whereas Christopher Robert Aramo's commitment to the excellence and the spirit of humanity carried out over all fields into the fields of enterprise, including charitable and civic endeavors. Whereas our nation's veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice deserve to be recognized, commended, and honored by the people of the state of New York and for their service and for dedication to their communities, their state, their nation. And whereas armed with humanistic spirit and viewed with a sense of compassion, Christopher Robert Aramo leaves behind a legacy which will long endure in the passage of time and will remain as a comforting memory to all he served, befriended, now, and therefore be resolved that this legislative body pause in the deliberations to mourn the death of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo, and be it further resolved that this copy of resolution suitably engrossed be transmitted to the family of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo, adopted in the Senate May 16, 2023, and adopted in the Assembly on May 17, 2024. I could now have the Honorable Mayor Mark Drenner come up and read the City of Oneonta proclamation. Proclamation of the City of Oneonta, New York, mourning the death of Chief Warrant Officer 3 Christopher Thomas Aramo. Whereas Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo was raised in Oneonta, New York, and graduated from Oneonta High School, and whereas Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo died in the line of duty on April 27, 2023, and whereas Christopher Robert Aramo served his country honorably for over 18 years, and whereas Christopher Robert Aramo's service included tours of duty in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom under live fire, and whereas Christopher Robert Aramo received 9 Army Commendation Medals, 6 Army Achievement Medals, various unit awards, Meritorious Unit Citation, National Defense Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and Army Service Medal. And whereas Christopher Robert Aramo was a steadfast husband and fiercely loved his dog Mika, who was by his side for the past 17 years. And whereas our nation's veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice deserve to be recognized and honored by the citizens of the City of Oneonta for their service and their dedication to our community, New York State and the nation now for it, therefore, be it resolved that this gathering pause for a moment of silence to mourn the death of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo. And be it further resolved that a copy of this proclamation be given to the family of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo. And now, therefore, I, Mark Drennick, Mayor of the City of Oneonta, hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Oneonta to be affixed this 29th day of May, 2023. I would now like to call up the Honorable Meg Kennedy from Otsego County Legislature.
May 25th, 2023. To the family of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo, please accept our deepest sympathy on the loss of Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo. The Board of Representatives pays tribute to this young man who passed away in the line of duty and who served his country for over 18 years, including tours of duty in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, as well as being the recipient of numerous military honors. The Otsego County Board of Representatives expresses its sincere condolences to his family on his untimely passing. As a mark of respect for Chief Warrant Officer Christopher Robert Aramo, a proclamation resolution recognizing him and his service to our country will be presented to the Board of Representatives for their approval at their meeting on June 7th. Sincerely, David T. Bliss, Board Chair, Otsego County Board of Representatives.
Commander? Commander, prepare the firing detail.
Step forward, march. Fire. Go. Three. Fire. Go. Three. Fire. Order arm. Referee to fall back in.
And I'll ask Reverend Randy Plata to give the benediction.
Raise right.
We're indeed blessed by God for this beautiful weather that other parts of the country is not fortunate to have this kind of weather. So we really thank God for this beautiful day we have. Please join me in the prayer of benediction. Gracious God, on this Memorial Day weekend, we remember and give thanks for those who have given their lives in the service of our country. When the need was greatest, they stepped forward and did their duty to defend the freedoms that we enjoy and to win the same for others. We thank you that indeed you have given us this freedom that we so enjoy, and we hope that we will not take this for granted as we live each day. And as we leave this place today, lest we forget, help us to remember that freedom is not free. There are times when it cost is indeed dear. Never let us forget those who paid so terrible price to ensure that freedom would be our legacy. So Lord, as we close this ceremony here today, be with us, help us to be home safely, and God bless the United States of America. Amen.
In closing, there is one veteran that wasn't mentioned today that I'd be remiss if we didn't. For me, I'm very fortunate that I'm standing here. I wish all of you would take a couple minutes after the ceremony and stand here. The young people in the band get to see what I'm looking at. This is the memorial walk. This is the vision along with other community leaders, with Army veteran Richard Miller, who was our past mayor. It was his vision to have this memorial wall. And I know that if he was here today, he would have truly appreciate how the trees have grown up, how our city staff take immaculate care of this area, but the view that you get to see from this monument back to the American flag as it's half staff. I'd like to also acknowledge and welcome all of the veterans that are here in the crowd today, the Blue Star families and the Gold Star families, to come back to our post for lunch as we have in previous years. All of you folks are welcome to join us and having a remembrance lunch. We will have a single bagpipe playing Amazing Grace, and once he is done, that concludes our ceremony. So thank you very much for coming today.
Yeah, no, I know.